Welcome back to the deep dive. You gave us the stack of sources, articles, linguistic analysis, and expert notes, and our job is to extract the essential nuggets you need to be instantly well-informed. Today, we are focusing on a word you probably use, I don't know, hundreds of times a day, often without a second thought.
We're diving deep into the microscopic world of the word take. And it feels so simple. But for anyone trying to master English, its sheer versatility makes it one of the greatest linguistic challenges out there.
That's really the mission today, isn't it? Tackling the ubiquity of take. It's like an engine room word.
That's a great way to put it.
It holds together so much of our conversational English. And our source material, it revealed that this single four-letter word has over 50 distinct meanings.
50.
That number alone can make a learner just, freeze up.
It absolutely can.
Yeah.
I mean, 50 definitions sounds like complete overload. But what our deep dive shows is that they fall into these clear logical categories. Yeah. So if you can categorize these meanings in your head, movement, time, transport, and requirement, the complexity, it just instantly becomes manageable.
Right, let's unpack this immediately. We always start with the foundation, the physical, literal meaning.
Right. So the linguistic root of take is simple. It's to grab or to carry something away.
Okay.
It implies a physical interaction and usually a temporary possession or a responsibility for movement.
So the most basic examples are really clear then. Can you take this book to the library? Or I'm going to take my umbrella because the weather forecast looks pretty grim. It's about assuming responsibility for that object and moving it from point A to point B.
Exactly. But notice how quickly we transition from that physical act to an abstract one like measuring duration.
Time.
Yes, and this is where take becomes one of the most useful time-telling verbs in the entire language.
I think we all rely on this pattern every single day. Take feels like the universal verb for discussing how long an activity or a journey requires.
And that's the first major structural pattern we really need to memorize. It follows a very common construction. Right. It takes plus someone, plus a time period, plus to, and an infinitive verb. Mastering that structure just unlocks dozens of sentences immediately.
Let's run through some practical applications of that. If I was interested in your travel time, I'd ask, how long does it take you to get to work?
Or maybe in a professional setting, you might hear a project manager say, this final phase will take 3 weeks to complete.
Right.
On a smaller scale, it could be, it takes me 30 minutes to cook dinner. Notice how the word take stays the same, but the scope shifts from minutes to weeks, all inside that neat structure.
That structure is gold because it's always applicable. And if you, the listener, are trying to use this right now, just try applying it to your morning routine.
Good idea.
Think about the process you go through and then formulate the answer. Something like, it takes me 15 minutes to drink my coffee and get ready. Using that structure out loud solidifies it much faster than just, reading it.
That's the key active application. Now, staying with that theme of movement, let's shift from the abstract idea of time duration to the practical reality of physical travel.
Transportation.
Exactly, transportation.
And this is a huge category where take just completely dominates, especially when we're talking about modes of transport that you don't personally own or operate.
Yes, and that responsibility component from the core, meaning it's still subtly influencing the rule here.
Yeah.
We universally use take for public transport and hired transport.
So I take the bus to work.
She takes the train.
We took a taxi.
We'll take a flight to Europe. In all of those cases, someone else, the driver, the pilot, the transit system, is responsible for carrying you.
Okay, here's where it gets nuanced, though. And I think this is where a lot of learners get caught out. The car exception.
It is a critical distinction. Despite using take for nearly every other motorized vehicle, we do not say, I take a car when we are driving it ourselves.
Right. You have to say, I drive a car.
Or I go by car.
I understand the rule, but why the arbitrary exception? It just feels like English being deliberately difficult, throwing out the pattern just for the most common vehicle.
Well, it connects back to that original sense of carrying or being responsible for moving the item or the person. When you're driving, you use the specific action verb, which is drive.
Okay.
However, if you are acting as the transporter for someone else, the rule shifts back.
So the exception to the exception. That actually makes sense.
Precisely. If I'm transporting my daughter, I say, I took my daughter to soccer practice in the car.
Because you are the one carrying her, in a sense.
Exactly. I'm the one transporting her. The verb take signals that function, not the act of operating the vehicle itself.
That deepens the understanding immensely. Okay, one more movement distinction before we move on. Take a walk. Is that transportation?
No, and this is a really common point of confusion. Take a walk is purely a leisure or exercise activity.
But you're not using the walk to get somewhere specific, like a commute?
Exactly. It means walking for pleasure. Let's take a walk in the park. If you need to get to the store, you would say, I'm walking to the store, not I'm taking a walk to the store.
That differentiation between, say, necessary movement and pleasure movement transitions us perfectly into our next category. The abstract use of take for temporary actions and inherent requirements.
This category covers a huge swath of self-care and domestic actions. We use take for actions that are temporary, initiated by the subject, and have a definite expected conclusion.
Okay, so we're talking about things like take a break, take a nap, take a shower.
Take a rest, or even larger actions like take a vacation or take a trip.
You start it, and then you're done.
And that boundary is the cognitive aid for the learner. You take a shower, but you generally do the dishes.
Oh, that's interesting.
The shower is a brief, personal, contained event. The dishes are usually part of a larger, ongoing routine.
I love that insight. I had a classic temporary action moment just recently. I was so mentally fried after a big meeting. I told myself, I need to take a quick nap.
Right.
And the moment I woke up, I realized how essential that phrase is. Even my partner's response used the time definition. She said, okay, but don't take too long.
That's a perfect illustration of how these different categories just weave together in daily dialogue. Now, let's pivot from those temporary actions to abstract requirements.
Okay.
Here, take completely loses its meaning of physical carrying.
Okay.
And it starts to mean to require or to necessitate a certain quality.
So we are shifting completely into the realm of necessity and inherent traits.
Precisely. When we talk about what is required to achieve a difficult outcome, take is the verb we use. For instance, it takes courage to speak in front of 100 people.
Right. Courage is the required ingredient. Or in a context that's relevant to our listener, it takes patience to learn a new language. That quality has to be present for success.
And this framework leads us directly to one of the most powerful and, I think, insightful idioms, which captures that idea of shared requirement.
It takes two to tango. I know this one is popular, but for a non-native speaker, it makes zero literal sense.
So what does this essential idiom actually mean?
It means that if a difficult or negative situation exists, a conflict, a disagreement, a political issue, both parties involved are responsible, at least to some degree.
So it's a way of demanding shared culpability.
Yes, a subtle way. If you're discussing a tense professional negotiation, you might say, well, regardless of who started it, it takes two to tango to keep that argument going.
That brings us to what might be the most complex terrain in this deep dive.
Phrasal verbs.
Phrasal verbs. This is where English really separates itself and where a lot of learners can, stall out.
This raises a crucial point for you listening. What exactly is a phrasal verb?
Right.
These are verbs combined with a preposition or an adverb like off or up. And that small second word completely transforms the meaning, often into something you just cannot guess from the original words alone.
Not at all. And mastering them is absolutely essential for conversational fluency.
Okay, let's start with one that truly showcases this transformative power. Take off. It has, 3 wildly different meanings?
At least 3, yes. Meaning one is the most practical, airplane departure. The flight was delayed, but the plane will finally take off at 6 p.m.
Simple enough. Meaning 2 is also pretty simple, the physical removal of clothing. Take off your wet shoes before you step onto the new carpet.
And meaning 3 is pure idiom. It means to become suddenly and dramatically successful.
Her new business idea really took off after she secured that initial investment.
Exactly. The key here is just context. If you hear a business colleague say, I hope this idea takes off, they aren't talking about airplanes or sweaters.
Moving on to family and return, let's look at take after.
Take after just means to resemble or inherit traits from a family member. You really take after your mother. You have the same excellent sense of humor. It focuses on that inherent similarity.
Then there's take back, which functions as a return in 2 different ways.
Right. It can mean physically returning an item. This shirt doesn't fit. I need to take it back to the store.
But maybe more importantly in a conversation, it can mean retracting something you said.
That was unfair of me. I take back what I said about the movie.
Shifting to comprehension and shelter, we have take in.
So, meaning 1 is to fully absorb or understand information. If you're at a lecture, you might struggle to process everything.
Right, so you'd say, There was so much technical jargon, I'm having trouble taking it all in.
Precisely. And meaning, too, is the compassionate act of providing shelter or protection.
For someone or something.
Yeah. After the storm, they took in 3 neighbors whose roof had been damaged. It's an act of providing a temporary home.
Okay, next up we have responsibility and conflict, which are sort of bundled into take on.
You can take on a new challenge or a responsibility. I'm going to take on this new difficult project next quarter.
It shows ambition or acceptance of a duty.
Or you can take on an opponent. This means to compete against them directly. Our team, though we're the underdog, will take on the undefeated champions next week.
A very common one used socially is takeout.
And this one is split between removal, did you take out the trash before you left, and a social commitment.
Right. When it's used socially, it often means paying for someone to go on a date or to dinner.
The context is just vital. If you say you're taking out your colleagues for lunch,
the meaning is usually social, not that I'm physically removing them from the office and tossing them into the street.
hopefully not. So finally, we can look at control and hobbies with take over and take up.
Take over. That means to assume control or leadership, often pretty rapidly. The vice president will take over the company when the current CEO retires next month.
And take up, again, has two distinct meanings. First, to start a hobby or an activity.
Since retirement, he has taken up painting.
And second, to occupy space. We can't fit that massive bookshelf in here. It simply takes up too much room.
That was a significant challenge, but I think by mentally categorizing those phrasal verbs, the chaos starts to feel more like a checklist.
It does.
So let's wrap up with the essential idioms, the expressions you hear daily that really define natural, fluent conversation.
These are the high-frequency usages that define the conversational pace of English. Let's start with a classic that covers both relaxation and farewell. Take it easy.
We use this when we mean relax or don't stress, but I think most commonly it's a friendly, informal way to say goodbye.
Yeah. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Take it easy.
Then there's a declaration of reaching your emotional limit.
I can't take it anymore. It signals absolute frustration or that your endurance has failed.
You hear this in moments of high stress, like dealing with loud renovations next door. This construction noise has been going on for 3 weeks. I can't take it anymore.
For building trust, we have, take my word for it. It's a simple directive to believe the speaker without needing proof or evidence.
The restaurant looks fancy, but the food is terrible. Take my word for it, let's just go somewhere else. It substitutes your experience for their research.
On the theme of patience, we have take your time. This is a reassurance that the listeners should proceed at their own pace and not feel rushed.
And contrast that supportive phrase with a really final, non-negotiable term.
Take it or leave it.
That is the ultimate final offer, isn't it?
It is. Accept the terms immediately or reject them. There's no further discussion, no room for counter-proposals.
And a vital expression for social diplomacy. Take a rain check.
Yes. This is the polite, universal way to postpone plans or decline an invitation for now, but with a promise to fulfill it later.
I'm busy tonight. Can I take a rain check on that movie?
Exactly. And finally, tying back to the idea of experience informing necessity, we have take it from me.
Which means listen to my advice because I have lived through this, or, I learned this the hard way. Take it from me. Trying to learn all 50 meanings of take in one sitting will just lead to overload. But by organizing them into these categories, transport, time, phrasal verbs, it makes the entire process so much smoother and less intimidating.
We've navigated the massive scope of this single small word, moving from the literal act of carrying an item through the complexities of abstract requirements and into this dense landscape of essential phrasal verbs and idioms. The application of this knowledge, that's really the final step toward fluency.
We certainly have mastered the many faces of take today, and since this word is so central to the structural scaffolding of everyday English, I want you, the learner, to carry this thought forward.
Right.
If one small common verb like take can hide 50 or more complex rules, how vast and deep are the intricacies of other seemingly simple verbs like get or put or make?
Yeah.
It just reveals how powerful the simplest components of the English language truly are.
An excellent thought to end on. The deep dive continues.
Until next time, take care.